Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 113th edition of the Chronicles of Podcast. And these right here are the Chronicles of Scott Reeder. It is I, the bearded brummy Jamie, and joining me, as always, is this handsome fella right here.
Scotsman Tom, and welcome to the Chronicles of Podcast. Hit it!
Hey there, you're about to enjoy the Chronicles of Tom and Jamie.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Mann.
Hey guys, my name's Annabelle Knight.
Hello, this is Becky Baldwin.
Hello, I'm Chesney.
Hey, what's up everyone? This is Braden from Say We Can Fly.
How many Instagram followers do you have? How many followers on TikTok do you have?
Boys and girls, theys and thems, join us as we bring you the Chronicles of Scott Reeder. This week, we are joined by drumming legend Scott Reeder. Most notably known for being the drummer of rock band Fu Manchu, Scott joins us to talk all about his brand new solo record, Lights Out on the Shore, under the name of Jacket Thief. You'll find all about why in a minute. But we learn all about the album, all about what Fu Manchu are up to, and yeah, this interview is absolutely wonderful.
I mean, the album is great as well. That's what you're going to say. But yeah, Scott obviously coming away from behind the drum kit and putting himself front and center, playing some guitar and, doing some vocals and whatnot. It's great. And he's just a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
So, it's just a really fun interview, which I think you're all going to enjoy. Fu Manchu fans and solo artist fans alone will enjoy this thoroughly. He's just a down-to-earth, very humble, very wonderful human being. And this is a lot of fun. So, Jamie!
Yes, sir.
Do you have any final words at all?
Just a massive thank you to our wonderful guest, Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time out and talking to us. I'm about to get my heart off the ceiling. Thanks for that, you bastard.
You're very, very... Push that poo back into your bum. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, interviewing this week, it's Jacket Thief Scott Reeder.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week we bring you another fantastic guest. Today's guest is drum royalty, playing drums for over 40 years, touring all over the world, as well as being one of the busiest drummers ever. Playing in bands like Smile and most famously Fu Manchu, but now he steps away from behind the drum kit and turns into a jacket thief. Not too mixed up with the guy from Caius, bet you never heard that before. Boys and girls, theys and thems, join us as we bring you the Chronicles of Scott Reeder.
Good morning. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you, sir? Thank you very much for joining us.
Coffee in hand, dog at my side. There you go.
Oh.
Yes.
She makes her television debut.
Before we start getting into to Fu and to Jacket Thief, how was the last few years been for you with the pandemic and everything, especially from a personal perspective being in the States?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I have no idea.
Okay. Never existed, never happened. Wasn't even a thing.
Don't even know what you're talking about. Last 3 years have been bona fide wonderful.
Excellent. Great answer.
For me, you're asking. Yes, for me, bona fide wonderful. Yes. I mean, things could have been better, but they could have been worse too. So, I'm still here, and that's the main thing. So, still ticking, still kicking. But yeah, I mean, it was just time to start music, and play a lot of music and handle what was in front of you and what you could control, and so that's where playing music is. You can control that. You can always pick up a guitar. You can always sit behind a drum set, even if there's nobody there. You can do that. So that's something that can't be taken away from you, no matter what. Yeah, and that's the important thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, but in that case, luckily, I'm lucky to have that, and lucky to still have it, and every day, that's kind of what I think. So no matter what's going on,
You found that a lot when we talked to musicians on the show about that time. Because obviously it was very difficult for musicians and no longer being able to tour. A lot of people were like, "While I was home, I still had my instruments. I kept myself busy, and I still played." And that's what's important at the end of the day. Still doing the passion.
I never stopped teaching the entire time. As a matter of fact, I got busier. So
yeah.
I was not, luckily I wasn't in a position where, I had to, cancel. I mean, yeah, we canceled tours, but everybody did. So, but yeah, I mean, I kept busy, and I had more people, not knowing that I was doing that. And then once they found out, then they were on board, so that was cool. It's a good thing.
So a question I like to do at the start of every episode is, before we take it back to what you're doing now, you take it back to the days of young master reader. What did you want to be when you were growing up and you were a young lad? Has it always been music for you, or was it train driver, spaceship pilot? I don't know, whatever it might be.
Nah, that stuff requires too much math. So I can't count beyond 4. So,
which is ideal.
It's ideal if you're going to play rock and roll. So you're getting into 6s and 13/8 stuff like that. That's the only math I could do. So yeah, this is it. This is what I wanted to do.
That's all. But
yeah,
where did that love for music come from then? Specifically the world of rock and metal. Was it outside influences? Was it your parents that introduced this sort of music? Where did that love come from?
I mean, I guess, yeah, I've always had it. It's always been. I didn't realize I was drawn to the heavy stuff until I got exposed to, I mean, my parents were kind of like, of the 70s, and listened to a lot of the singer-songwriter stuff. I grew up with a lot of that kind of stuff. Country and grandparents, big band music and that kind of stuff. And then as you get a little bit older, and I didn't even know what the sound of a guitar was. Somebody explained it to me like that. Yeah, that sound that you like, that's a guitar. I'm like, oh, okay. So then when you start to hear the heavier stuff, and there was that really super fertile period of from probably 78 to probably 83, where there were just tons of new music coming out, and getting exposed to, at least here in America, getting exposed to the Scorpions and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Motorhead and those bands, that made it across here some way or somehow. And then, also being exposed to, drumming wise to bands, it's like I would have never probably gravitated toward listening to U2 if it hadn't been for Larry Mullen Jr. Because you hear drums in a different way than you've heard them, and you go like, oh, you hear drum sounds. I've always been a fan of drum sounds. And drums in general, that's always been the attraction for me. I was always walking around, my grandfather used to yell at me and stop, because I'd walk around going like before I knew what it was. And he'd tell me, he was like, you knock that dicka shit off. So, that was, and then, he was laid linoleum, for tile and stuff. And so he had these big buckets that you see the guys on the street corner playing on. Well, we were, as kids, we'd take these buckets that used to be full of glue and stuff, and you turn them upside down, and then you realize that if they're on the ground, they make a different sound, but if you lift them up, they sound a little bit different. And so my cousin and I, we'd build drum sets, take a barbecue grill and suspend it on something, make a cymbal. We didn't know what we were doing. We just saw pictures of, Roger Taylor and Bev Bevan and, all these drummers and stuff. And we were all like, oh, that's cool. And then, started taking lessons, at 8 or 9 or whatever. And then it just kind of I had a band teacher in, grade school that kind of, I guess, she saw something that I was interested in. So she cobbled together, we didn't have a drum set, it's public school. So she took a gigantic concert bass drum, probably a 28-inch bass drum, got an old Ludwig Speed King pedal, put together a pair of like orchestra crashes on a stand, and I already had a snare drum. And then she whipped out a copy of Carmine Apice's Realistic Rock and said, I found this book with rock and roll beats in it, and I think we should, try and learn some of this stuff. So she was the one who taught me to play that first beat. And then it was literally like light bulb. Oh shit, I can do this, and plus you're searching obviously for that thing, like what's your thing, and I didn't have a thing. I didn't like sports. I played sports, but I wasn't a sports kid. And then once I started doing this, and then you saw these guys that were like athletes on stage, the guys that could play a million miles an hour and they're sweating and they're, that the music sounds rad. And then once you figure out that you can play some of their songs, then you're like, oh shit, I can do this, And so then it was like, I don't care about nothing.
But
still
first and foremost, if I was wearing a hat, I'd tip it to that teacher of yours, because fair play, that is incredible that she got the pieces together to see how passionate you were about that. That is absolutely amazing. And
I wrote a story about her on my website that I published a couple of years ago that's on there. And I never got the chance to thank her after the fact. I wanted to come, back to where I grew up and find her and thank her and go like, look, I wrote her a letter, I think sometime in the mid 2000s, and tried to find a way to send it to her. Then I found out that she passed away. So
no,
she did that with a lot of people. She was just one of those people. I mean, she was, a public school music instructor. She didn't get paid a lot, and she did drive a really cool van, though. I can tell you that. She had a blue van, and she would sometimes like transport the kids in the van, like when we had to go like stage band concerts at another school and stuff. As a matter of fact, she even got a ticket one time with us in the van.
What happened doing that?
She was being king of the road before anybody.
This teacher's becoming even more of a legend as the stories go on. This is amazing.
Yeah, Miss Whaley, Carolyn Whaley. Long may she reign.
That's amazing. I love the fact as well you were saying, like, because a lot of musicians are saying, like, oh, I saw this person play, or I heard this song and I just fell in. But to you, it was just like, no, there was just something about drums, no matter what it was always there. It drew me to it. That's amazing. I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean, growing up, I just, again, like I heard, the 70s drums, the dead drum sounds and stuff like that, and then I think my first concert was the Moody Blues when I was like 8 or something, and I'd never seen a drummer live. And I remember watching Graham Edge had a blue Vistalite double bass Ludwig. Okay, so when you see pictures of I'd never seen 2 bass drums before. I was like, whoa, what's that? And I remember that he played, and I've verified this because I've gone back and researched recordings and stuff of theirs online, like live bootlegs, and he played everything so much faster. Everything was like, if they were playing Ride My Seesaw, it wasn't like ride my seesaw. It was like down, 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 down. And he was stepping on it, and the guy was just, and that was the first drummer I probably saw, live. And then I saw Carl Palmer with Asia on the very first Asia tour, and saw the first drum solo I ever saw. And I'm like, oh, well, got my first copy of Modern Drummer, and I was like, that's it. I'm in. And then, kind of went through that whole period, like, I want a lot of drums. What a lot of drums. Drums in here and drums in there, big kits and all this stuff. And then sometime around, I think 86, maybe, which was, that's what year is that? Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Time, Rain and Blood, like, all of these records, right? And then I think MTV showed The Song Remains the Same over a weekend, and I watched it and I went, holy shit, you can do all of that with very little. So, kicks you in the head, and that was a light bulb moment too. And, Mini light bulbs later.
That's funny because there's always that question, isn't there, at school? It's like, what do you be when you grow up? And most kids go, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. Whereas obviously for you, it's just like, drums, there you go. That's it. Life complete. I'm sorted.
Yeah. Whatever it took, if there was a job that got in the way of playing drums, I was kind of like, I need something I can't work too hard with my hands. I need my hands. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Go look after these bad boys.
Yeah.
Just out of interest,
No snowboarding.
What did your parents say when you told them like that you wanted to be a professional musician? That was what you were going to be.
They always kind of believed in it, and they knew how passionate I was about it. I mean, obviously they wanted me to do something where I was going to be able to support myself, so that's, always a parent's concern. I think I told a high school guidance counselor that, and they were like, well, it's not really a good career choice. I'm like, is it not a good career choice, or is it just a career that you don't agree with? So, and it's obviously, especially nowadays, it's not even really a career. You can't have one, unless you've already kind of established one, I guess. So, it's that's kind of always what I wanted to do. I never knew I would teach that. I didn't think that I would ever have the capacity. I had somebody recommend that I do that once, but then I kind of fell into it about 20 years ago. And, it's been an awesome thing. It's been really great.
Yeah, I think it's always to pass on that knowledge, and you've been in the industry for quite some time now. So I like the fact that it's like, here's what I pass it down to the next generation. So bring the new generation of drummers in, start taking the music scene to the next level, sort of thing. Because I think the music scene now is a minefield of how many Instagram followers do you have? How many followers on TikTok do you have? And it's not really. From what I've read from the outside, there's like not a whole lot of money involved with it anymore. It's a lot of people at Spotify don't want to pay anyone anymore. It's crazy.
It's not that they don't want to; it's that they don't.
Well, yeah. Sorry, too many words there.
I think I read a story about Peter Frampton getting something like 55 million streams of "Baby I Love Your Way," and he made $1,700. I mean, that's right. It's robbery. It's robbery. Yeah, that's exactly everybody's reaction to it. So, and people say, people will say, oh, well, don't bite the hand that feeds. Well, if that's feeding me, I'm fucking starving.
Yeah.
So, that's fucking Peter Frampton, for Christ's sake, let alone like other musicians.
So, I mean, and again, it's like, the labels, again, have done what they've always done. They cut back in deals with these people for the big catalogs, and so they're getting the money, and it's just, and also, the public consumption of music, as you guys know, it's become, it's not it's a passive thing. It's a background noise. It's a white filter. It's not something that's an active listening. It's like when I made this record, I wanted people to listen to the entire thing because it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's how I think of albums. They should have a continuity to them. They're not just a bunch of things sort of slapdash together in an order. The running order, running orders are what bands probably should break up over. That song should have been second. No, but now it doesn't matter because people just pick and, so, but the idea is just to get it out there,
No, I agree. If I put an album on, you start at the beginning and you finish the end. Because at the end of the day, you respect the artists who put the album out. They put it in that order for whatever reason they chose. You listen to it in that order. Simple. Yeah. But I was doing my research, looking on your website, and it was saying after high school you moved away to study, and a certain name popped out to me because anyone that knows me knows I am a massive, massive Kiss fan. And you spent some time with Eric Singer, I do believe.
I did.
So,
yes, I did.
So what was it? I'm assuming it was studying drums with Eric. So how was it?
I think I did maybe like 5 sessions with him. Very first time I'd ever played with another drummer, actually. Very first time that he kind of taught me about how smaller drums can be louder than bigger drums, depending on how you tune them. And I remember one thing I remember pretty vividly is like we took a break and he's like, let's go get something to eat. I'm like, all right. So we went to a drive-through or something. And like we came back and we're sitting there eating and we're talking about, Sabbath and somehow Queen came up. This was in 1989 or 90. Okay. So that was at the point where like nobody was interested in Queen. They were passe. They were, they couldn't play. I explain to students nowadays, I say, think about this, that after Live Aid, Queen could not come to the United States and play because Freddie was gay. Think about that now. Think about the biggest band in the world, still today, right? And putting on arguably the greatest 20 minutes of live music ever put on, and they couldn't come over here because of the attitudes, right? And so, but it never dawned on me for some reason. I always just thought Freddie was Freddie. And my parents had, gay friends and stuff. And they were, there was a guy named Jim Holloway that was a really great artist. And he reminded me of Freddie, and they both had kind of the same funny mannerisms and like interviews and stuff. And then I remember I asked Eric and I was like, everybody says Freddie's gay. I don't think he's gay. And he's like, what do you mean you don't think he's gay? He's Freddie Mercury. And I'm like, well, it just never dawned on me. And I don't care either way. But he's Freddie. And he's like, well, yeah, he's just Freddie, And I was like, boom. And then it kind of all made sense. And I was like, oh, wow. It actually made me like him even more, But yeah, we spent some good time. He showed me a lot of things about listening sort of in between beats and listening for spaces. And, at the time we talked a lot about the Badlands record that he was on. This, still, I went back and listened to that record not too long ago. It's insane. And so, yeah. And funny enough, I think it was about 10 years ago, we came home from a tour and I went to see Kiss owned a football team or something at one of the arenas. Indoor football. And so we went there, and one of the people that I know had season tickets, but they were doing a show for the season ticket holders. And she's like, do you want to go? I was like, I've seen them, just go, whatever. So they take you in there, and it was they shuffled everybody through the line to do the meet and greet and everything. And so we went up to them, and I stood right in front of Eric, and I turned around and I went, Burbank, 1990, backyard studio. You and I did about 5 sessions together. And he looked at me and he goes, that's right. He's like, you don't look any different. And I'm like, no. And he's like, awesome. Have a pick.
That's amazing. I love that he remembered you.
Drummers have their own picks. Okay.
John, I didn't even twig then. Yeah. Why the fuck is a drummer giving you a pick? Yeah. What the?
Where does he keep them on the costume? I don't know. But yeah, I studied with him. I studied a little bit with this guy named Rick Steele. I did some lessons, getting my reading sort of back together when I started teaching, So yeah, it was good.
That's all.
Always interested in kind of learning more about that,
I can't help it. As soon as I see someone who has like a small affiliation with Kiss, I have to jump in and ask questions. I need to know. It's built into me. But was it 1992 you formed Smile?
92,
yeah. And you guys had like phenomenal success. Was Smile your first band, or is it just the first band that you talk about, if you know what I mean? Like, is this some of those dark projects?
Yeah, I had played in like, high school bands and cover bands and, stuff like that. But yeah, that was the first, original music band that I had done anything. And so, that was the first. That's a dog butt right there. Yeah, that was the first band that had really done anything. So yeah, we were together for probably 7 years, I think. 7 years, pretty much.
You had incredible success. Several albums, touring with bands like Korn, no doubt. But what happened to Small? Why did it come to an end? Like, I was reading everywhere. I was reading, nowhere said what happened. It just.
It actually, they continued after I left. But we had just kind of hit a point where, we were trying to get signed again. We were trying to, make the next thing, because we had put out 2 albums. The second one was really well received, kind of gave us a whole new fan base. And we kind of hit a point where we weren't really progressing as far as getting music out quickly. And we would spend like 3 months doing 5 songs, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just, I don't want to split hairs over a drum sound that nobody's going to give a shit about, And but I mean, that's not to say that the songs weren't great. The songs were really good, and my friend Mike, who I co-wrote some stuff on this record with, actually right around that time, the song, that TLFN song, we wrote that song at that time, and we just never put it out. I mean, he put it out, I think, with another band that he did a different version, but I always wanted to do that version of it where it was just like straight ahead, walking down the road, kind of like that. And so the songs were great, and but yeah, I mean, it was just, I wanted to get back to, because we had not been touring, we had not been doing really anything of that sort of nature except for like regional and West Coast and stuff like that. And I wanted to get back out, and and so when Brant left Fu Manchu, that's Brad luckily thought of me, and so here I am.
That's what I was going to ask, how you ended up like taking over from Brant in Fu Manchu. So it was literally a case of Brant went, I know a guy, by the way, I'm on the way out, but I can bring someone in.
Well, we had played shows with them in the early days of Smile, because we were all in the same, and then they kind of like, had more projection and more success than we had, and we kind of subsided. And so, but Brad and I always kept in contact, and I guess he always, sort of respected my drumming, luckily. And so he was the first guy he called. I was the first guy he called. He called me.
That's all. What a great call to get as well, though. So, like, do you fancy joining this band? Yeah, all right, cool, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was more like, you want to come down and have a play, and I was like, well, of course I do. And so I went down and I hit everything as hard as I could.
And the rest is history.
And then for like a couple of days, I was like, oh boy, I don't play that hard. And then I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work for an entire tour. You better find out how to do that differently. So
just remember, I got to look after these hands. What am I doing? But like, I was reading earlier, like I was saying, the first tour you did with the band, like, played 17 countries. A couple of years later, you're fully endorsed. You're playing record crowds of 60,000 people. Did you expect all this when you were joining the band, or was it just like, whoa, I just joined because they asked me because they needed help? Like, well,
I mean, I knew that they were. I mean, I knew that they were. I knew that they were big. I mean, way bigger than what I was doing. And I mean, we had had some success with Smile, kind of doing those sort of things. And I don't get apprehensive in front of bigger crowds or crowds in general. I just don't get apprehensive in front of. I don't know. I don't get nervous. I just kind of go out there and I just want to kick everybody's ass, Mainly, I want to kick everybody. The 3 guys on stage. I want to, make sure that I kick their ass first, and if that happens, then everything else kind of flows, But yeah, I mean, and it's I'm not saying that to be egotistical. I think I'm lucky. It's not that I don't get excited. I get excited, but I just I feel kind of like maybe a guy who's a surgeon does when he knows that he's got to go in and do what he's got to do, and he just does it. And so that's it's like there's been a couple of times though, like getting on stage and looking out and going like, all right,
Tonight I'm just going to look down at my kit and just ignore all of those people.
Yeah, and again, when the crowds are that big, you can't see, you can't make contact with except for the people that are like, down front. And if you watch that too long, you're going to lose your place. So,
but of course, you decided to step away. Well, not step away from drums, but come out in front of the kit to start your own solo project, which obviously Jacket Thief. What made you want to start doing your own stuff, your own solo stuff?
I mean, I've always just kind of written songs and, picked up a guitar. I mean, I have guitars sitting all around the house, and, I have been interested for a long time in sort of like, modal tunings and things like that. And so I just started mucking around with ideas and playing figures, and I'll pick up a guitar, and come home at night, sit around, have a whiskey, pick up a guitar, try a tuning, try to play something, record it. And then pretty soon I had, a lot of these ideas. And so I was like, well, maybe I should start putting them together. And then the next thing I know, I was like, I had melody ideas. And so it was just, I mean, we've all done like separate things. I mean, Bob and I have done the Sun and Sail Club project. He's done Big Scenic Nowhere. Brad's done stuff with, Gods of Sometimes, his new record, and Dunsmuir, and other projects that he's been involved in. So we're never not all doing something, and and there was a time I'd be like, well, that's not a song that would be a Fu Manchu song, or that's not a riff that would be considered for that or something, but then I was just like, I'm just gonna write it, and whatever comes out, and so that's kind of where it stemmed from. And then, having the downtime, it was good for me to just start doing it. I figured that this is the best time, because I'm not going to have a chance to do it otherwise, and so I just kind of picked away at it over the course of a year.
You ever have like those moments where you think of a melody or riff at the most inappropriate times? So, you're like, I don't know, like showering or asleep, or randomly you go, and all of a sudden the tune is coming to your head. You're like, I better note that down real quick. Get the voice note out, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that does happen. And then sometimes, you can't get to one, and you go, oh, well, I'll get to that. It's good enough that it'll stick around, and then it's gone.
Yeah. Just in the middle of a set, just the middle of a Fu Manchu set. You're like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, no, it never happens then. No.
Oh, okay.
My mind is definitely focused on what's going on then.
Just start playing the completely wrong thing. I just had this in my head. I just bollocks.
That doesn't happen, luckily.
Where did the name Jacket Thief come from? It's a great name, but it's like, instead of using your actual name.
A friend of ours that we just did a big memorial show for, this guy named Otis Bartholomew. Everybody called him O, and O was if O didn't come to your sound check, it wasn't a show. Let's put it that way. I mean, he was everywhere. He was, friends with Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam and Tony Hawk. He was a skater. He was a professional photographer, but he was just a music guy. And if he championed your band, then Smile got signed basically because of O. There were so many bands that he just went, you got to sign these people, And so we were touring with him one time, and it's a very long story, but I acquired a coat of his that was left in the dressing room that I thought was left by like a homeless person. And I wore it for 2 days, not seeing him. And then it didn't fit me. I gave it to my cousin, and then he saw my cousin wearing it. He's like, where'd you get my jacket? And he's like, my cousin gave it to me. And he's like, well, who's your cousin? He's like, oh, it's Scott Reeder. And he's like, that guy stole my jacket. So for 20 years, I was the jacket thief. Yeah. And he would tell everybody, he would say, oh, that guy, he's a great guy. You can't trust him though. He'll steal your clothes. I'm like, that's true. I have a dishonest clothes stealing streak in me. So
I do it again if I had the chance.
When I asked that question,
it came from. I mean, it was literal. It was like a comedy of errors. It was like a Three's Company sketch. You could have written it, and it was pretty good in that sense. So I was always known as the jacket thief, and then people would get in on it and call him and tell him that I tried to steal their jacket too, even when I didn't, just to piss him off and just to keep it going. It's like the longest running joke ever. So
When I was thinking, writing the question, I was like, please tell me there is a story where he actually stole someone's jacket. I'm so happy it actually was that.
You were sitting backstage and somebody's Levi jacket was hanging over the back of the chair at the memorial for him. And I forget who it was that walked by me and they were like, you want to take it, right? You want to take it. I'm like, I'm good. All good.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So with the record, you played all the instruments. You did all the vocals, the songwriting, everything on this album. Is that right?
Yeah. Except for like the lead guitars. Bob did those, and then my friend Mitch Townsend did them on 2 tracks with the lap steel, and also just just the guitars in general. He did most, but I did all the rhythm guitars and all of the bass, all the drums, all the keyboards, all the vocals, and the writing I did all of, except for those 2 songs that I co-wrote with Michael Rosas.
It's phenomenal. What made you want to decide to do it that way? Like, I'm just going to do this myself. Obviously, get help where I need it, instead of like forming another band.
Well, I mean, then you got to pay people.
Fair point. Very fair.
No, I mean, I just I figured I could do it anyways because I had demoed all the songs that way. So everything was demoed. All I had to do was really go in and, leave a little room for creativity, but kind of stick to a structure. I don't like going in the studio unprepared. I mean, we don't do that. I mean, we've never done that with Fu Manchu. We don't create stuff in the studio. We go in and, we just did a double album the other day. We're doing a double album right now, I should say. But because we were prepared enough and because we rehearsed enough, I went and I did the drums for the whole record in one day. And I've never done that before. So I did 13 songs in 8 hours. And I was just like, I don't even know. It's kind of an out of body experience. I don't even really know. I mean, we listened back, everything sounded good. And I'm like, well, I guess that's preparation right there. That's what you do. So I was all prepared the same way with this. I had everything written. The only thing I didn't have written was that the opening track, Flying Too Low. That was actually an instrumental. And I had too many instrumentals on the record. It was affecting the running order. And so I was driving home from a trip one night, and I had the title of the song. The actual full title was Flying Too Low to the Sea. And but I kind of took that and I just ran with the idea, and I got a melody and I had the lyrics pretty much in like 10 minutes. And then I went home and I was like, shit, I better demo that and make sure it works. And then it did. So it was cool because it was kind of like a different song to open the record with, and something that's not usually you open with like a heavier tune or something that's like a little strident. And this was just, it kind of started the sort of imagery that I wanted to have of it as sort of a travel log, so.
So
that was the last thing. That was the last thing written for it.
Is it quite a personal record? Is it very personal to you?
As far as the
lyrics and stuff, yeah.
Content? Yeah, there's bits and pieces in there. I mean, not everything is. There's definitely a couple of songs that are semi-autobiographical, I guess you could say. But I think I don't know. I mean, lyrics are the hardest thing. I mean, I've written some stuff recently that's very personal. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I want to put that out in the world, maybe I'll just send it to a few people. But yeah, I mean, I don't, lyrics are definitely one of the harder things to do. And to really, I think for me, melody is sort of the first thing. And then learning that you don't have to use so many words. You can change a lot with shortening things but getting the point across. And I mean, luckily I've had a lot of people comment on the lyrics and have said that they really like them. So that I'm pretty happy about, because words have always been really important to me just in general. And I love a good phrase. I love when somebody says something and I go, ooh, and snatch that here, there. Somebody, I think that's where that one of the phrases in one of the songs about somebody that passed away, and they said, well, he raised the hell that he knew so well. And I was like, damn, that's a good one. I gotta take that one. And so, and yeah, and it's funny because the songs definitely take on, even in the past couple of months, they've taken on different meanings to me. So yeah, it's there's some stuff that's personal, but not all of it is.
Was it, with this being your first like solo outing, was there like, even if it wasn't a personal one, was there a certain message you were trying to purvey with this album, or was it just a case of, I've written these songs, I want to stick them out there?
Yeah, no messages. I mean, it's more, I think really what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to, if you got me in a room with a guitar, I could play you each song, and their songs. They're complete songs. I could, what do you got? Oh, I got this. If you sat in a room with 3 people and they traded songs, hey, what do you got? Well, I got this one. You got, okay, that's a good one. Well, I got this one. And you could go tit for tat with somebody and you'd have songs. And that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to have full-fledged songs that if you stripped away all the instrumentation, they would still stand on their own as something that if somebody liked them and they wanted to do a version, they could do their own version of it and enjoy the song. And that's kind of the litmus test, is the song has to stand up to being played, I mean, Fu Manchu's never going to touch an acoustic guitar, so on stage at least. But they have to stand up to that kind of scrutiny, because if you strip away all the artifice and you only have words and melody to go by, then that's all you got. You could sing "Take Me Home, Country Roads" without anything, and people, right? I mean, you know, it's a great pub song. So, not that anything on this record has anywhere near that sort of greatness. It's never going to happen. But that was my litmus test. So the message was just that if there was one, I just wanted to try and write songs. And then what happened is, as you put them together, they started to form, especially with the production, it became kind of cinematic, and I like that. So there's definitely, I've had people tell me that they could see them in, things with films and things like that. So that's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I bet, being a drummer for so many years as well, I bet it's quite weird promoting an album as playing the guitar and doing all the vocals and things like that on it as well. The best, like, this is kind of weird talking about this side of it. I'm not used to this.
I mean, I've always sang, and again, I've been around enough. I mean, I'm in a band with 3 phenomenal guitar players, so I'm always asking, "Hey, what's that?" My friend Mitchell Townsend, the guy who played on the record, he's an insane guitar player, and he's also a lesson guy, and he does music for television and commercials, and can show you, I mean, everything from John McLaughlin to, Mike Campbell. So runs the gamut. So, and I like all that stuff. So, I know that for me, it's harder to pick up a guitar and go, I mean, I play rhythm. That's what I do. And I'm good with rhythm. I'm not good with leads and things like that. I'm trying to get a little bit better, but then again, it's like the lead players that I like, are, they're not the flashy guys, because I couldn't really, if I was to try and get to a point where I could play guitar, I wouldn't even go after that side of things. I would err more to try on the Stephen Stills, David Gilmour type of side of things, and listening to what you could do with maybe fewer notes. Yeah. But again, I'm not even in the same planet as those people, so I wouldn't even. But those would be 2, really good influences. I like those their rhythm playing, their lead playing, just the way that they kind of speak with their instrument.
So when you toured with Steve Vai back in the day, you weren't watching from the side of the stage going, one day I'll take you, Mr. Vai.
I was just impressed that he had 2 electric violin players on stage with him, and they were battling with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah. But again, I mean, those guys are, it's a completely different realm of. I had a friend that toured with Jeff Beck and was his tour manager for the last 7 or 8 years. And, we sat on the side of the stage and watched him at this small club here in Santa Ana do a rockabilly set, was a tribute to Dwayne Eddy, and watched him play, an old Gretsch, and that just, sitting literally 3 feet away on the stairs and watching him do that. There's, I've been pretty lucky to see stuff like that and just go, damn, you're not even going to get in the same vocabulary as that. So I don't aspire to be a guitar player per se, but I like to pick stuff up and, have a go.
There were 3 real standout tracks for me on that record, which were Flying Too Low, the opener, because that guitar at the beginning, I was just immediately drawn in, like, this is incredible, just straight from the upper. Yeah, so I absolutely loved it about that. I loved The Wind Gone By, and Some Kind of Murder as well. I thought it was, a bit punchier, a bit heavier, it's good. So yeah, those are like the 3 proper standouts for me. The album's fantastic. I'm not just saying it because you're here. It's from start to finish, it's unbelievable.
Great, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, those are favorites of mine as well.
Absolutely. For me personally, it is TLFN and As She Drifts. I absolutely love those 2 songs. But as Tom said, from start to finish, it's a fantastic album. Like, there's no doubt about it whatsoever.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's awesome.
The album has been out like just over a month now. What's the reception been like to it? What's the feedback you've had been to it?
It's been really good. I mean, everybody that's, like I said, the majority of the people that have heard it really like it. The lyrics have gotten good comments. People say that they're, they've named favorite tracks, and I mean, it definitely hasn't gone unnoticed, which is, nowadays just getting it noticed is really, the major issue. So, that's good. And, I'm, like I said, there's some stuff that I'm trying to do with maybe some possible remixes of some different things, just for, the purpose of doing it, talking to some people about film stuff and working on other things, other songs. So, that's going to kind of go forward. I don't know, because we're kind of in the middle of making a Fu Manchu record. So it's kind of hard to do both of that at the same time.
I was going to say, is there plans to do a follow-up record? But
yeah, I mean, like I said, I've written a lot in the last month, but I don't know that all of that would see, it's just when it comes out, you got to get it out, and then you come back to it and go like, okay, is that worth messing around with, or is it like, does it remind you something you don't want to be reminded of?
Would you ever tour it?
If I did play live, it would probably be, I'd like to probably get some more material out. But I mean, people have asked me that. No one's asked me to play, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. No, not at all. It's just, having to be a band leader is kind of like I don't know. It's a task that I don't know that I'm necessarily up to. But as far as, showing people how to play certain things, and, I mean, because that's what I'd have to do, is show everybody how to do it. Because, but I mean, it's not like it's super hard stuff to play. I mean, most people, I know enough people that are great players that could just go like, oh, okay, I get it.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
What I
I'd
love,
like to, I'd like to, yeah. I'd like to do some live stuff, but we'll see.
It'd be great, even if it's just like a one-off show sort of thing. It'd be great to see those songs on.
Yeah, I mean, if there's an opportunity in the next couple of months, I might do something like that. So you can check it out.
What I love about you, like, and doing my research on you, is you seem to have like the true pure love for music. And like I said in the intro to this, that one of the busiest men like in music. Like I was going through your biography and I was just getting tired reading. Like the Decatry Fallout Sun and Sail Club with Scott Reeder, which did make me laugh. The fact that you worked with him. Even worked with Social Distortion. Do you actually like ever stop?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have to have time away from it, and I think I mean, I'm getting a little bit more to the point where now I kind of feel like, I need, you always got to have other interests outside of it to inspire it, and so, just trying to cultivate some of those, but I mean, it's been, I don't know, I kind of like that do what you can when you can while you can adage, and that's the thing, because we don't know, we just don't know, and you gotta, there's people that I thought would be around for a long time that are not here anymore, and they they deserve that if you're here and you have the opportunity to carry on in any capacity, if you were inspired by them or what they did, that you kind of owe it to their memory to do that for people that you've known. And I mean, I want to keep just doing stuff, and I kind of, you kind of have to. I think if you stop, you sort of atrophy and you wither a bit, And I mean, I play drums, every day, whether I'm teaching or I don't, unfortunately, I don't do a lot of practice on my own right now. And I go through phases where I will do that, but I do a lot of, I teach a lot. I play every day for that, or I play, I was thinking the other day when I sat down to teach, I was like, damn, did I just do an entire record in a day? I guess I can still play drums, So that's the thing for me. I go like, man, can I still do this? You sit down and you go like, okay, is it going to be there? Okay, it's there. All right, we're good. And if it's there, then you gotta keep after it, because I want to do it until I can't do it no more, and do it at least until, if there becomes diminishing returns, then you kind of got to know when to, take an exit, but hopefully not anytime soon.
Can't see it happening anytime soon. But you did mention about your teaching now, and I know we touched on it earlier, but I love the fact that, you don't just have classes that people can go to in person. You do it digitally as well, which is absolutely amazing to see. Like modern technology, you can teach people to play drums over the internet. How amazing is that?
I have somebody in 5 minutes, actually.
Oh, there we go.
But it's great, and obviously that helped out a lot in the last couple of years too. And I haven't necessarily done it on the road yet, but we'll probably do a little bit of that next year. And it's really good, and I'm lucky to be able to connect with people. I've made some really good friends through it as well, through teaching, and people that were students that are now good friends, that started a while ago, and also seeing people that I started with that have their own bands, that, do their own thing, that have gone on to music academies, and, that have been on, TV shows and things like that. So that's pretty rewarding.
That is absolutely amazing. And as you just said, you've got a class in 5 minutes. I won't keep you much longer now. But for this may be hard because, being involved in so many projects. But if there are people listening to this, they're like, I like this guy. I like the cut of his jib, as we like to say. What are like 2 or 3 songs from over your career, from your various different projects you've been in, you might recommend people checking out that sort of like give a good vibe as to what Scott sounds like behind the kit?
Let's see. There is a Smile song on the second album, Girl Crushes Boy, that's called Peach and Brown. That's actually I pretty much wrote that song except for the bridge on guitar, and then all of us collaborated lyrically, and then it's got a really long, nice instrumental passage that kind of goes from slow to fast. That's a song that's kind of a good standout for me. I'm pretty stoked on the instrumental Il Mostro Atomico, the one on Clone of the Universe that Alex Lifeson played on. That's I'm very happy with that. And then with this record, I mean, Sun and Sail, probably I'd say that the last record, the Fever Blister and the Great White Dope song, is a great song. I love that song. And then this record in particular, I'd probably say Furs and Fires, and then I would also say As She Drifts as well. Those would be a pretty good encapsulation of where I'm at so far.
Amazing. Everybody get those onto your playlists right
now. Get them.
Get them on.
Get them. Get them on.
Mr. Stevens, any more questions for our wonderful guest?
Well, I'm going to end here because obviously you've got a lesson coming out, but is there any plugs, any social medias, things you want people to go and check out?
Yeah, I mean, the lesson site is scottreederdrums.com. Jacket Thief, is obviously on YouTube. Instagram is Jacket Thief. I think it's Jacket Thief Music, Scott Reeder. And then my Instagram, Scott Reeder Drums, is all about Fu Manchu and lessons and pretty much everything having to do with me. And then, but just musically related. And then, plug wise, I mean, I think we have a reissue coming out for Record Store Day. As a matter of fact, if you'll hold on a second.
Yep.
It looks like this.
Oh, look at that. That looks very double platinum.
There you go. This is a cover of a cover. That's what that is. What this is the 3 10-inches that we did in the last 3 years, because we're supposed to do 3 in the 30th anniversary year, but that obviously didn't work. So what we did is we took them all and we did a cover of Working Man to raise funds for brain cancer research that was released on Neil Peart's first birthday after he passed away. And of course, the naysayers out there were like, well, he didn't even play on it, man. It's like, well, yeah, but he obviously played it for 40 fucking years.
Yeah.
So, and it was the last, and I think we put up a post about, it was the last song that he played live at the Forum, when we went to the show. And somebody was like, no, it wasn't. They played a snippet of Garden Road. I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to argue with graffiti. I'm not going to do that. So, so anyways, that is included on here as well. And then what we did is we resequenced the record. So it's not just, 10-inch 1, 2, and 3 in order. There's a different sequence to it. So it's an actual standalone album on its own. And it's pretty awesome. Sounds really good. So that'll be out Record Store Day in Europe, actually only Europe and the UK for vinyl release, and then I believe it's out here digitally, then as well. We'll be reissuing the live album, the original live album, Go For It Live, I think at the beginning of the year, and then possibly another King of the Road reissue. I don't know exactly if that's happening, and then the new album should be out in May. And then also there's a new Sun and Sail Club album in the works as well.
Wow. That's a lot going on.
Busy boy.
All coming.
Scott, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us. It means the absolute world. We don't want to keep your student waiting, so we shall let you get out of it, but it means the absolute world. Thank you so much for sitting and chatting with us.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate the time for sure. And yeah, everybody go get the Jacket Thief album, Lights Out on the Shore. You can do the vinyl in the UK from Cargo Music UK. You can do direct from me in the United States through Bandcamp. And then it's obviously available digitally worldwide.
Amazing. Yeah, listen to Scott. Go and get it. Go listen to it right now.
Go get it right now.
Get it down. Get it down your neck.
Scott, thank you so much, buddy. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Pleasure talking to you, and we'll catch up with you soon.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Cheers.
All the best,
fella.
Scott.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers. What an absolutely phenomenal interview. Absolutely love talking to Scott. Like, seriously, everyone go check out that Jacket Thief album. It is absolutely fantastic. From start to end, it is a superb album. It gets the chef's kiss from me.
Yeah, it's like hit after hit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety in there as well, which is quite nice. Changes it up a little bit. And yeah, it's great. So, Scott, we wish you every success with the Jacket Thief project. And hopefully we'll see you on tour someday doing Jacket Thief, maybe alongside Fu Manchu. Who knows? But mainly, thank you so much for taking the time out. And we really hope that you right here, all of you listening right or watching right now, like when I'm wiggling my finger, enjoyed listening to it as much as we did recording it.